In this video tutorial, I'm going to cover a highly requested topic, and this is how to program iOS applications in Windows. And the reason why this has been highly requested is that there is no official way of writing iPhone applications on Windows. And after Apple has made a third-party development for the iPhone legal, there have been a blitz of third-party SDKs released. And I've tried all of them, well, most of them, and I like some and dislike some, but in the end, I chose the open plug method. And this is the reason why I chose it. The open plug method uses a cross-compiler for the Flex framework, which is an open source SDK for Flash, which is aimed and designed for developers. And for those of you who don't know, Flex applications are written in an integrated development environment called Flex Builder or Flash Builder, depending on the version. And this is very similar to developing applications for Visual Studio. And when we develop Flex applications, we use the ActionScript and MXML languages for programming and design, which is very similar to Visual C# and XAML or WPF applications. So Visual Studio users will feel right at home. And also iPhone applications developed using Flex can be business applications as well as games, unlike the other SDKs that I mentioned, like Adobe Flash or Dragonfire. Okay, so let's get started by Google searching a Flash Builder so that we can download the integrated development environment. You have the option of downloading the 30-day trial, or if you are currently a student or a freelance developer, you can actually get a free license by doing a search for free RIA and clicking the first link. And then it will give you the option to sign up, and you will get an email giving you a free product key. Okay, so after you have Flash Builder installed, then we're going to go back to Google and we're going to do a search for Open Plug. Now once we're here, we're going to click on the first link, and then we're going to go up to Products, and we are going to find Ellipse Studio, and we are going to proceed to download this application. Please note that it will require you to create an account at some time. So once we have that installed, we're going to go back up to Start. We're going to go to Open Plug, Ellipse Studio, and Ellipse for Flash Builder 4. And then you should see a command prompt, and you should see Flash Builder loading. Then we're going to select a new project, Ellipse Project, and we're going to name this whatever we want. And then we're going to keep it at Standard Application and click Finish. Then we're going to go into the Package Explorer. We're going to go into Source, Default Package. We're going to select the MXML file. And once we're there, we're going to see the code interface load up. And once we're here, we can proceed to go to Properties. And in here, we're going to select Target Devices, and we will select development for the iPhone. And once we're here, we can optionally add an application icon. If you don't add one, it will give you a default one, which I will show. And then we're going to have to select a name. And then we're going to choose application version, and we're going to choose base XDK, which is the lowest firmware that your device will be allowed to install on. I'm going to choose the 4.1 firmware. Then you can optionally give a company name, and you can optionally fill out these other options. And we're going to set the UI interface initial orientation to portrait, and we're going to want to generate an IPA, or we can optionally output to Xcode for a layer development. And then we need to choose an iTunes icon. And then once you have all that, we're going to click OK, Apply, and OK. Alright, so now we're going to click on this form that we have, and we're going to change the width and the height to that of the iPhone. And so once we're here, we're going to start developing an application. And you're going to notice that development in Flash Builder or Flex Builder is very similar to Visual Studio. On one side, we have the toolbox, which we have all of our controls that we can use. And on the other side, we have our properties window. And our Solution Explorer, or Package Explorer, is right above the toolbox. And as you see, we can resize controls, just like in Visual Studio. So, as a typical first app, I'm going to design a simple click me. Please note that this is not a tutorial for the Flex framework or the MXML or ActionScript languages. But if you want me to create a tutorial just on those languages and development for the iPhone, please leave a comment below. Okay, so I've designed my simple user interface, and then I'm going to proceed to give it some properties. You can give them properties directly in code, or you can give them using the properties window. And I'm going to give it a label, which is equivalent to the text. And I'm going to change that to click me. And same for the label. I'm going to change its text property to click above. Okay, once we do that, we're going to have to add some code. Once you look at this code, you're going to see that looks a lot like XAML or WPF application design. So we have tags here, and in these tags we have all of our properties for our different controls, including the form itself. So we're going to add an ID property, which is equivalent to the name if you're thinking about Visual Studio, and all of our objects will be referenced using the ID. And unlike a Visual Studio, for Flash we have to create for Flex we have to create our own event handlers. To do that, we're going to select our button control, and in here we're going to type in a touch tab, and this is the name of the event we're going to write, and we're going to create an event handler for this called click. And in order to write our code, we're going to have to create a new tag called mxscript, and in here is where we're going to write all of our ActionScript code. And this looks very similar to C#. So we're going to type in private function, the name of the function, our parentheses, and a return value if needed. Since we have none, we're going to call it void. And here we're going to type in label1.text equals hello world. And then our classic semicolon, just like in developing C#. Okay, once we have this, we can save our project and we can preview it in an emulator. And it will look like this. Okay, once you finish developing your application, you're going to want to deploy this for installation onto your device. So what we're going to do here is we're going to click this little icon above here, and we're going to select my first app or the name of your application, and it will build an IPA and save it to your files in your project. And please note that this creates an unsigned IPA, so in order to get this on your device, you either need to buy an Apple developer license for $99, or you need to jailbreak your application, and jailbreak your device. I'll demonstrate how to do that. So I'm running on 4.1 with an MC 3G iPod Touch, so I'm going to use the line rain method to jailbreak my device. And it doesn't matter what method you use, as long as in the end you get Cydia running on your device. So once we have Cydia on our device, we're going to proceed to launch Cydia. And once we launch Cydia, we're going to go down and click on Manage. Now once we click on Manage, we are going to click on Sources, and then we're going to go to the top and select Edit. And then we're going to select Add. Once we select this, a dialog box will appear. We're going to want to add the URL as cydia.hackylow.us. And for those of you who don't know, this is the repository for Installus. So we're going to have to add anyway for the security warning. Once we have this, we're going to go into repository, and instead of downloading an illegal Installus application, we're instead going to download AppSync. And this will allow us to get our unsigned app onto our device. And this is perfectly legal, unlike Installus. So once we have AppSync installed, you don't actually have to do anything. Instead, we're just going to go straight to iTunes, and we're going to pop our IPA, which is in our projects folder, into iTunes. And then once it's in iTunes, we're actually going to sync it to our device. Okay, so here is my finished application running on my iPod Touch 3G. Notice the default logo and the advertisement. And note, this advertisement does give you revenue sharing. And as you see, the app is fully functional. And that's it for this tutorial. For more tutorials, please go to thehackersjournal.com.